Hey, good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon, Michael Shetler with you, along with the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, a big week this past week over the last several nights. Opened up with senior night as the Warriors hosted West Noble.
Yep, we had, it's always a special night. With this year, again, being just a little bit different. Your senior night's usually your last home game of the year. Traditionally, your last home game of the year. It's the last time the boys get to, your senior boys get to play on the hardwood TP. And I think this year, not knowing for sure, what the year brings, what each day brings, honestly, we really thought we'd make sure we get that night in because it's a special night, to honor, the guys that have put in the time and stuck with the basketball program. And this year we have, Adam Beer, Cameron Salazar, and Ethan Carey that are really kind of special players. Anytime you got seniors, they're special guys to you because of, what I just mentioned. But, you really want to get a win for them, and we were fortunate to kind of come out on top against West Noble.
Your three seniors really bring something unique to the game, each one of them.
They really do, and I'll tell you what, I think their best quality, just as people, is their selflessness, and we talk about caring about other people, in our program as one of our values or one of our core values, and just three guys that just could not represent that value better. Honestly, because, you take a look at, Adam Beer, one that's played JV last year and has worked his way up into some minutes. But, at the beginning of the year, having conversations with him that there are no guarantees on the playing time thing, because, we got some young guys coming up and the depth is there for us. And he's like, that's fine. I just want to be a part of the program and be a leader on the team, which he has been. And, if his opportunity was called, he was going to be ready. Just let me know. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. And he just got a little bit better in some certain areas, and then we started sticking him in there. And he's been playing about 8 to 12 minutes a game and fulfilling a role, getting some guys rest. But his value to our team goes well beyond that in our locker room and being a leader and a scholar athlete. And we just nominated him for academic all-state, and so.
Well, and he's well on that track. I mean, his progress toward that engineering degree at Purdue, he's already well on his way to getting there.
Yeah, and so he's not just somebody that we value in our basketball program. We value him in the school as well.
Yeah.
And so, he played football for the first time this year and had some success at wide receiver and just couldn't be happier for him that he's having this kind of senior year, and so Ethan Carey has had some ups and downs and throughout his high school career, but is certainly ending on an unbelievable up. What he's doing in the building trades program with career and technical education, picking up dual credits and certifications, and really setting him up nicely for a career in construction. And if you know the Carey family, they have that construction company, and you certainly could see, from him the leadership qualities that it's going to take to lead a team, of construction workers, and I know I've talked to his dad about it, and they're going to groom him into taking over someday, and whenever that day comes, he's going to be ready just like he did, in high school basketball.
Well, and he and the other young man you're going to talk about, Salazar, they won that special award or special recognition for the ISAA for sportsmanship. Never heard of that before. It's in mid-season. It's really very special young men.
Yeah, and it's easy. We were talking to Mr. Van Loo, we're just off air, talking about how easy it is to root for our team. And this starts with those three guys. Honestly, you look at them, you just want to go, oh man, I hope we win this game for them. It's not for the coach or the coaching staff or the community. You're just like looking at them going, man, I really want those guys to play well tonight, because what type of kids they are. So they're really easy to root for. And Cameron Salazar, it just doesn't get much better than Cam, and he's been so special to our basketball program. and every other thing he participates in at school. Teachers in the class are like, yeah, I'll take 30 of those in my classroom, and he's not exactly a straight A student, but just a really good kid that works hard in everything he does. So, he's thinking about going down the path of becoming a teacher and a coach, and he's going to impact so many lives when he gets out of high school, and he's just one of those guys that we have a quote on our board that says, successful people find a way to be successful in whatever they do, and so Cameron's just one of those guys that's going to be successful in whatever he decides to do. If he goes down the road of being a teacher and a coach, and I've given him some warnings on how you got to have a screw loose just a little bit in the coaching profession, but he's ready. He can tell. He just soaks it all in, and it's yes sir and no sir and thank you sir and all that stuff. And again, you mentioned the exemplary report, from the IHSA about those two guys, and just really special. So,
yeah, Coach, I'm really curious. You've been coaching basketball for a really long time now, and you've had a lot of different players, a lot of different types of teams.
Wait a minute, he's nowhere near as old as I am. How can he have been doing anything for a really? Oh, that's
I know.
Right.
Over a decade for me. Yeah, if it's over a decade in the coaching, that's my kind of long term. But anyway, you've had a lot of different teams and a lot of different players, and I'm just really curious the difference between those teams that have those quality leaders as opposed to those teams that are maybe more individual or don't have those leaders that step out. I'm sure you've had different teams where there's been more leaders than less leaders, and I'm sure this is one of those teams where you have 3 seniors that are just quality leaders. Just discuss what it's like having quality leaders on the team and what difference that makes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge impact to your program. It's not just our team this year, but the young guys really look up to those guys that are sitting there in the locker room. I got kids of my own in the basketball program in the middle school, and they just think the world of those 3 seniors, and especially Cam. Cam will come to my house and watch football. I mean, it's just unusual. It's just not normal, for a kid to be at that level of maturity to really have the relationship he does. And I'm talking about all 3 of them too, that with the coach. And yeah, you do have, I've been through it all, honestly, just about 18 years in coaching, and you tend to think that you've seen it all. Well, I guess not COVID, but it's just, you see it all. You see teams, I've been around teams at the high school and collegiate level that don't have great leadership in their locker room, and things tend to kind of go wayward, very quickly. And once it does, when the coaching staff tries to grab a hold of that and get it back together, it's too late, and then a spiral effect happens, and you start going down, and you can't control it, And so every season, let me make sure I make this clear. Every season has its own set of circumstances that if you don't have good leaders, it spirals out of control, and so this season has been no different, and we didn't let it get to that level. Because of the three guys that we have, in our locker room as our leaders. There's no question about that. And what they're doing is they're setting the stage for next year's leaders and saying, hey, remember when? Well, guess what? 2 years ago, there's the same thing. Ben Hoffer, Josh Slayball, those guys were setting the stage for Cam and Ethan and Adam to be leaders. And so, you talk about creating core values in your program and the culture, in your program. That's what you're talking about, where you can go in year after year. Think about the New England Patriots, right? In professional sports, how, you either love them or hate them, but one thing you do understand is they're going to, well, minus this year, they're going to be really good every year because of the culture that they created, in the program. And that's what we strive for, that we have a culture, an attitude in our locker room that can be continuous, year in and year out. And then, when that talent comes and we have an overload of talent, which everybody knows that we're not quite there yet with talent-wise, but we got great kids that work really hard, and we can win. We can win games. So the cycles aren't, the hills and the valleys aren't quite so far apart, in running a program. So I will tell you real quick, I know we're running out of time in the first segment, unbelievably so, but I will tell you that it's always special on senior night. This one probably a little more than others. Yeah. When you look out in the hallway and you see the parents with the players, and it never fails. It never fails. You got the moms crying, because I have again, I have younger boys in the basketball program, and you think it's always going to be like that, right? They're always going to be here, and they're always going to be playing basketball. We're always going to be rooting them on. And those moms and dads that are standing out there have realized that this has gone way too fast. This has gone way too fast, and the emotions just come pouring out. And you look at those parents and you go, well, I'm glad I'm a ways away from that. I don't have to experience that because, it's a long way away. But what they'll tell you, every one of them say, enjoy it. It goes so fast. And to look at the emotions from those parents, I went out in the hallway and I just couldn't help but getting choked up because, how much the sports mean to those parents and those players. It was nice. Just a icing on the cake. If we would have lost, against West Noble, it wasn't that big of a deal. But for the seniors last year at the Goshen game with Jaden Boyer, throwing in a last-second shot, and this year getting a win over West Noble, a good West Noble team. Those are special moments. Those guys, those families, and they'll take with them, forever. Honestly. So it's nice to get a win, like I said, over a good West Noble team for those guys. And I can tell you, our team, as we sat in the locker room, I was asking some questions to the team, and there wasn't one guy in there that wasn't saying, we got to win this one for these guys. Let's just give them the senior night gift that they deserve. They deserve a lot more than that, but everybody wanted it for them. And then after the game, everybody's happy for them. So it was kind of a special night.
Yeah, I was going to say those two games in particular, West Noble and Bethany Christian, coming at the time that they came around senior night, and I think also just bringing into play what they've gone through this year with COVID especially, and just how crazy this whole season has been. First of all, we didn't even know if there was going to be a season. At the beginning of the season, we're like, it's kind of up in the air. Then it happens. Then we get a couple games in. We're on kind of a streak. We win 2 games in a row. Then 2 weeks off because of COVID. People are all trying to get back to their health, drop a couple of games. It's just kind of, fluctuating up and down. And then we're coming off of 3-game losing streak. We beat Plymouth, and then we get that West Noble game and get a huge win. And I know we don't talk about wins and losses as much. We're more focused on the progression. That's always been kind of the key for your philosophy. But again, those wins have got to be just extra special with this year and everything that your players have gone through. And then following it up with a big win against Bethany Christian, which we'll get into a little bit next year. But that had to be awesome.
It was. It's for the players. This is for the kids. That's why we're here, to see them. We know that the product of working hard is special moments, and so how many you have, you never really know, but when they do happen, you just got to sit back and enjoy it. You sit back and let the kids enjoy it, and that certainly was one, that we knew we had put in the work. We had gone through the fire, and we're coming out on the other side, and to take those leaders that have been there through thick and thin, and to come out on the other side in one basketball game on one night. You just got to enjoy it. It's not like it's so hard as a coach because you think about, what we didn't do well and what we got to get better at and who's the next opponent. You got to stop. I tell the coaching staff, stop and enjoy this and just go give a bunch of high fives or fist bumps or whatever we're doing in today's day and age, just go enjoy it. Say a lot of positive things and let's not even talk in the office about what we need to get better at. Let's really enjoy it. And I think we did. We did do a good job of just really enjoying it. Not just Saturday night, but we come in on, Monday getting ready for Bethany. You can just tell the overall vibe was really good with our team.
And when we come back, we'll talk about last week's opponent, Bethany Christian, as well as last night's Concord game here on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com, where we're talking to the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, Tuesday night, the Warriors were on the road traveling to Waterford Mills, where we took on the Bethany Bruins.
Yep, we sure did. It's because they're a 1A school, I think it's kind of easy, especially coming off 2 wins. They're easy to overlook, but we put in just as much time on Bethany as we did our previous 2 opponents over the weekend. And what I realized is that they've been very competitive with some very good teams. Bremen was the WHME Game of the Week against New Prairie. They've been coming on strong. They got some talented players. My former school that I used to coach at, Argus, I know they're hard-nosed, tough team. They got a good team this year, and Bethany lost by 4 to both of those teams. And as a matter of fact, if you watch the games, they had a lead late against Bremen and just couldn't close it out, And so I knew they were going to be feisty. I knew it was going to be kind of a physical game. It's interesting. A 1A school, you don't get too many opportunities to play bigger schools, and sometimes the bigger schools don't schedule you, and for whatever reason, it's hard to get the big schools on your schedule, and they only have one 3A school on their schedule, and it's us. And I know from my past experience being a 1A school, when I was at Argus, when we played Tippy Valley, that was the game. We wanted to win, and the 3 against the 3A school, and we would have done anything to play Plymouth, because we're right there next door to Plymouth, and they just wouldn't schedule us, and I don't blame them. So I knew that coming into the Bethany game that they were going to be playing for something. We were the big guys coming in, and they're very capable. The last couple years, they've really struggled to develop their talent. But they got a couple freshmen that have added to their guard play and their depth, and then you got a new coach that's established what he's doing there, and they played very scrappy in the games that I saw on tape, and I knew it would be trouble if we didn't take them serious. And I think the good news for us is the maturity of our team is when I started talking and I explained to them how I felt the game was going to be played out. You could just tell they were like, okay, I get it, so I think I've built enough trust in the team to say, look, man, this is going to be a tough one tonight. And it didn't help the JV game, the JV game just got out of hand quickly. And so sometimes you're watching that JV game if you're a varsity guy and you sit there and go, well, the varsity game should be the same, right? We should just run over these guys and kill them. And I just kept saying over and over, guys, we got to take these guys serious. They're up and coming, and they're
and to some extent, when you play one of those very small schools, just the law of numbers indicates that the JV team is not going to be up to the quality of the JV team of a larger school because there just aren't enough kids.
Yeah, it actually was their freshman team. They were all freshmen. So we did get some good, solid. Peyton Felger, for example, was his first game back against Bethany, and it was nice to see him in there getting some minutes against that. But it actually wasn't a JV team. It was a freshman team at a 1A school. And so, we ran over them pretty well, but did some good things, on our JV. So, it's just always a little nerve-wracking as a coach to make sure that the varsity guys are not thinking that that's going to happen in the varsity game. And, our goal was to win the first quarter, which we did. And I thought if we could build a 5 to 7 point lead, that we'd be okay in the game, by halftime. And sure enough, we were up 17-10. That's 2 games in a row we've held somebody to 10 points and a half. And so I was pleased to go in the halftime, up 17-10. We get to the point where it kind of hovers around maybe 6 to 8 points. And then we just like we did at Weston Oval, we built a 9-point lead with 1:20. We're up maybe 7, 8, 9 points against Bethany late in that game, and we just couldn't quite close it out the way you need to kind of win by 12 or 15 or 18 points. You hit some free throws, you get backdoor cuts, and you get a layup, and we just didn't quite close out those last 2 games like I would have liked to. And then it kind of crept up on us last night again, where we had a lead and couldn't close that out. But that's part of learning how to win high school basketball games, and we were pretty fortunate to win the West Noble game, and because we had a bit of a cushion, and we were pretty fortunate at Bethany to win that game because we had a bit of a cushion, So it's good to come out away from those games with victories and try to learn from those wins, but probably just not quite enough to get us over the top against Concord.
Yeah, and I like that you kind of talked about defense because that brings me into my next question. I think that is what stood out to me by far the most in that Bethany Christian game. We had quite a bit more turnovers than we would have wanted to in that game, but we made up for it with great defense, and we forced a lot of turnovers. And then also we saw the same thing in Concord, especially in the first half, where our defense just looked spot on, where we were just defending really well. Both of those teams had quality players that we shut down. The point guard freshman for Bethany Christian was an excellent shooter. I think he didn't hit a field goal that first half. And then we had the big center for Concord last night, who we limited to like 2 points, 3 rebounds in the first half. And so, again, defense stands out for me. Have you been seeing that? We talked a little bit about that yesterday. You said that was something that you were happy about. Just talk about your team's defensive play of late.
Yeah, I think, Bethany's leading scorer, the Willems kid, number 42, I think we held him to basically 0 points. I think late, like 10 seconds left in the game, he made a left-handed layup, so, some of that is, if you go back just a little bit, you look at the type of defense we're playing at Mishawaka and we talked about Keaton Dukes being our best at everything. He's the best guy at sliding over and taking charges. He's a leading rebounder. He's also, if you put him on the other team's best player, he gives us the best chance to shut that guy down. But we weren't quite good enough, 3 weeks ago with our help side defense that we got Keaton playing a one-man zone, taking charges against Mishawaka and Northwood. But we knew we had to progress into guarding everybody on the floor, not just 4 guys. And so what that takes, though, is other guys stepping up and doing their job in terms of help side defense and closing out and keeping guys out of the middle of the floor and keeping guys out of the paint. And so what you're seeing now is that we're no longer pulling those stunts in order to just hang around. We're actually guarding 5 people, which gives Keaton the opportunity to guard the other team's best player. And so he's been guarding the other team's best player. Not last night because Koltukian was 6'6", 6'7". Roberson was a better matchup. But you take a look at 44 from last night, and he has been scoring some points for them, and Keaton shut him down. So again, you see the development of our defense. That's 4 games in a row, I believe. 4 games in a row, including Concord. That's Plymouth, West Noble, Bethany, and Concord, that we have held them to 40 points or under. In a high school basketball game, that's very difficult to do. And so now we got a work cut out for us. We'll talk later about Lakeland and Northridge, and they're just high-powered offenses. It's going to be hard to keep them under 40, but we have done it the last 4 games. So our defense is coming along, again, ending possessions with rebounds. It's honestly, we've won 3 of our last 4, and that's been a key component to that, because you mentioned the turnovers. Well, how do you overcome turning the ball over that much? Well, you have to play with really good defense, and you have to maybe even turn them over. Last night at Concord, I think 3 of the first 4 possessions they turned it over against us. And so our defense has been key, and it's man-to-man defense. We started out the season, with no summer and very limited practice time. The only way we could survive is to play a zone, because we needed time to really work on man-to-man principles with so many new guys. So the sales pitch to the team was, let's play zone right now. Let's see if we can just put a team out there that can survive. But we have to be a man-to-man team at some point in the season. So, we got guys that bought into that idea, and we just kept getting better and better. And then we go, okay, here's the product that we have, and we put that on display. It's a man-to-man, straight up, old school man-to-man, and we put that on display, and it started working better. I'm telling you, we still got a long way to go on that, and we need practice time. So, next week we got Monday through Wednesday. We have to get better at some of our defensive principles in order to compete with good basketball teams.
Well, especially in the first half last night at Concord, your defense was able to shut down Koltukian very nicely, cutting the passing lane down.
Yeah, we stole a couple entry passes. He's a good player. He's a big boy. You guys know. He's going to. He'll go play middle linebacker at some Division I school. He's a middle linebacker.
Wow.
That whole team's full of football players.
Yeah, that dude. They've done it over and over. I just can't remember the guys. He played for the Packers offensive line. Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can't remember his name, but Franco House, and they are a factory of tight ends and linebackers. Seems like over there, but
not to mention Sean Kemp.
Sean Kemp is we could take a whole hour radio show talking about him, because I grew up watching him, but anyway, that's another guy, Koltukian, the middle linebacker. I just don't. You start looking at him, you go, oh yeah, I could see that.
He's scary,
and because he's so big and agile, and you watch him on film, you think, oh, we'll just push him away from the basket a little bit. But well, you can't do that. It's very, very difficult to. And he's got a really quick spin move, so he spins right to the basket and he gets in there, and then. In the second half, there's 3 key possessions, I think, right in a row where he scored, I think, on all 3, or assisted on one. He threw it off to the number 30 Fish, and he got a wide open layup. That was a turning point in the game, and it all centered around Koltukian. You know, he drew a foul on Roberson. I had to take him out. We moved another player onto Koltukian, who just took advantage of our post player, you know, and that was the turning point. That's what all conference, you know, NLC type players do. Competitors, you know, they take over the game when they have to. They were in a bad spot. We had them in a really bad spot, and I honestly believe if it wasn't for Koltukian that they don't even, we probably win by 10 or 15 points easy, honestly, you know. So, you know, it's a credit to them. They know their stud, and they got him the ball at the right spot at the right time, and he got a couple big plays. And
his ability with the assist to feed Fish. Fish actually ended up outscoring him last night.
Yeah.
But it was Koltukian that made that happen.
No question about that. And again, you same with our team. You start to realize, you know, where you get your paychecks, right? I guess it's just like you throw it to the man. You know, you're getting your guy the ball in the right spots, and he'll take care of the other guys, and he'll find the open. You know, he's an underrated passer. You know, there were possessions where he catch the ball and you're like, and then he'd just kind of kick it out, let the offense run, and they would filter the ball through the post, and then, you know, the third time he'd catch it in the possession in the post, boom, boom. It's over, you know, and so he's got a nice little righty hook, and in all honesty, look, he's not even a basketball player; he's a football player, and he's got some skills in basketball. But he's so big and quick; his feet are great. That he created so many problems for us. I thought Colin Roberson did a nice job on him in the first half. Even at one point, knocked him on his behind, you know, right in the middle of the lane, and so
and that will pay dividends years from now.
Yeah, and hey, side note on that, when he knocked him down, did you see what Colin did after he
helped him back up?
Yeah, he helped. Yeah. Colin is a great kid. It just the spirit about him is so kind and nice, you know, and so he's got a little bit of a mean streak when he competes, but deep down he's got a super soft heart, and he's really nice and kind. You know, his smile just lights up a room. And he knocked him down, and I think he just reached down and grabbed him and kind of felt bad for knocking him down, you know. So Collins is a really special, you know, I look forward to coaching him the next couple of years. But he's easy to root for, too, because he's so nice. He's so caring about other people. And I just thought it was kind of funny. He knocks, you know, Koltukian, he's as good as it gets in the post in the NLC, and is strong, physical, middle linebacker, all that stuff. Yeah. And Colin just goes, whap. Boom, knocks him right on his butt, and then helps him up. You know, of course, in true Collins style, it just helps him right up. So anyway, yeah.
Lots of basketball coming up tonight. We're going to be on the road at Lakeland, but before we do that, we're going to talk to Wawasee 8th grade basketball coach Pat O'Connell here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon, Michael Shetler with you, now talking to 8th grade basketball coach Pat O'Connell. Pat, thanks for being with us in the studio today.
Bill Dixon, pleasure to be here.
You have been coaching in our area for forever. You've been an icon of the coaching community, baseball, football official, basketball, and you have done it all.
I've been around, Bill. It's been quite a few years of doing it. Yeah, I started back in 1970 with coaching football, basketball, and track at Sacred Heart in Warsaw.
And a tremendous record in American Legion Baseball.
American Legion Baseball, one of my favorite times. It was a great time back in those days. I had about 8 years of doing it, and it was pleasant. I enjoyed it.
Well, more than pleasant. You won a whole lot of hardware with those American Legion boys.
We did well.
Yes, you did. Well, now that you're the 8th grade basketball coach at Wawasee Middle School, talk about what it's like to walk into a relatively large middle school and pull a group of 8th grade boys out and turn them into a team.
First of all, Bill, this team was already built before I got there. Trust me, they're talented. They didn't need me to come in and do this job. This was a rough year. I came from Warsaw, so we had numbers there,
right?
A lot of numbers. So that the numbers at Wawasee didn't bother me a whole lot. What I was looking for was to build a solid defense. My son had invited me up to see these kids play past couple summers, even though I was coaching Warsaw. I came to watch those kids play because he was telling me how good they were. And I was pretty impressed. I wasn't impressed necessarily with exactly the starting five because by the time I got to the games, if I was running late, they were already so far up they had the other players in. I was still impressed with the second 5 players that were playing on the court.
Gotcha.
So I got firsthand to see what it was like to go with them, and what a pleasant year I had. I mean, even though this was one of the best group of kids of the 23 years of basketball coaching, this is probably the best group of kids I've ever coached.
Wow.
They were there to learn. They listened, and everything I talked about, they did.
That's, attitude speaks so much in basketball, all athletics, and all of life. But you really can't teach that attitude, can you? It comes from home.
It comes from home.
Yeah.
That's a big priority. Home, and it's got to be in their heart.
Yep.
If it's not going to be in their heart that they're going to give 100% and they're going to work out in the off season and just go out and shoot 200 or 300 shots a day, it's not going to be there. These kids, I think they're there.
So the basketball program, 8th grade, you've got to take the talent that's there and fit it into Coach Everingham's system. Talk about taking those individuals who have talent in their particular package and putting it into Coach Everingham's system.
I think it was more me than them.
Okay.
Look, they've already been in Wawasee for 2 years, okay? And the system has already started to be somewhat in place.
So they already know the ropes.
Right. They knew approximately what to do and what they were supposed to do. The problem was for me to get myself and accelerate myself to get into Coach Everingham's system. I'm in a Warsaw system for 4 or 5 years here lately, so I had to learn a whole new system. Now, fortunately, basically Virginia, which is the style they run, I was familiar with that, so that helped out a lot. So I spent the weeks of open gym going to the varsity. I also helped as the varsity assistant. I went into their practices and the open gyms and learned as much as I could with their system, and to get it in place and put in all the basics and make sure I had it right into these 8th graders.
How would you compare and contrast what you did at Warsaw with what you're doing now?
Warsaw, I was an assistant, and I just followed the groundwork. Here, I had to be in charge of the 8th graders and know the system and put it in place. Big difference.
Big
Teaching
difference.
it and having to be on top of everything. So that makes a big difference of everything I did. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely. It was so much fun being at the helm again and just directing and being and having that little bit of an in-charge thing. But most importantly, watching the kids develop. Now, unfortunately, our year was the COVID just really took us back a while because we started off, on our first practice. I remember the first week of the season after we got done, or first week of the practicing, and we got done, and I had 6 practices left for our first game. I go, wow, we are so far along. These guys have just picked it up like this, and it's just going great. What an achievement this is. I said, man, we were ready to go that first game. And then all of a sudden, boom, we got shut down for 10 days. So we had contact, whatever, with the COVID. So we get back 10 days later, and it's like starting all over again. I go, what happened? I got 3 games or 3 practices before our next game.
Yeah.
And the second game, 2 days after that, is Plymouth, who is the best team in the conference, probably.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, wow, here we go, starting all over again. So we went at it again, and we weren't there. We didn't have all of our legs. We weren't all ready for it. Plymouth ended up beating us by 3, which was one of our losses. They ended up winning the conference. They progressed really well. They had a move-in come in, and they got really better, and they were tough to handle. And I really wanted another shot at them in the tournament.
Not a lot you can do about those move-ins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we had one ourselves, so it's kind of balanced out a little bit. But the key is our legs just weren't ready to go there. So we get going again, and we're back in the groove, and I'm thinking, here we go again. We're right where I want them. Boom. We lost 4 of our starting 5 players. Closely related contact again. So we lost them. A couple of them had the COVID. And so we had to go 3 games without our starting 5, without 4 of them.
Well, that'll slow you down.
And, but we won 2 of the 3.
Well, all right then.
And it was because of that depth I was telling you about that summer when I went in there and watched it.
Yeah.
These kids can all play ball. They're good ball players. So they actually gave me everything they got. And the thing was, I had them believing that they could win. I says, first of all, you guys, you got to trust me. You have to trust yourselves, your teammates. I said, you got to do that. And then you're going to believe, and we got to believe we can win.
Yep.
And when I take the court with these guys, even with that team or with the team, my regular 5 starting, we believe. I walk in every game thinking, we're going to win this game.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how much.
That age group, that 8th grade age group, it's so hard to regulate that. You don't want too much. You don't want not enough. Regulating that middle ground, that's tough for a coach.
It is, but stay on top of it and keep them focused. They do well.
Yeah. Coach O'Connell, thanks again for being with us. I think something that kind of jumps out to me, this has just been a COVID-ridden season. There's been a lot of adversity throughout the kind of year with COVID and just a lot going on for the kids. I think adversity is cool in some ways because it really kind of tests your kids and maybe makes them mature and grow in different ways. What have you seen your kids grow and develop on a personal level throughout this season? Has it been a sense of maturity? Has it been hard work ethic? Just what have you seen your guys grow and progress through this kind of adverse time?
I don't know how they were before they got to me, but their intensity and maturity to me was as good as I've ever seen. I mean, like I said, this has been my favorite team of coaching forever. For instance, one of the basic, I'm an old school man. I believe in defense, and I told them defense is going to win our games, guys, that we haven't won in the past.
Yeah.
Your free throw shooting's going to make all the difference in the world. Trust me.
Yeah.
Those two things you got to have. I've instilled that in all my kids, my personal kids. Defense and free throws are going to win those big games that you need to win.
Yeah.
So their maturity, I saw them, they worked so hard at free throws. Their free throw shooting at percentage was better than any freshman team I had at Warsaw. Better. At one point at practices, we were shooting 85 to 87% free throw shooting. That's with all 13 players.
Wow.
So your bottom half with your first half. Now, either they were just they were fibbing me on their numbers, or we were a good free throw shooting team.
Right.
Wow. And then I saw a dip in our free throw shooting in games. Guys, something's not right. So the numbers actually averaged off and came down to about 75% of practices. But they know what I want. And so when I say, okay, guys, this is where we got to get better at. We got to do this. We got to do this. They picked it up. And I think the maturity level between the beginning and end on defense was tremendous because they ended up telling me, that, guys, we keep teams below 30 points a game. We're going to be in contention to win that game no matter who we're playing.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. And, Coach, you've also coached high school basketball as well. You're at the 8th grade level right now. I'm curious, what's the biggest difference, do you think, between coaching at the high school level and then coaching kind of at a middle school level?
Hard for me to explain that one because as a high school level, freshman particularly, I was always the assistant. The work is done by the head coach because of all the prep work that's involved.
Right.
There's so much work done by the pressure of the head coach. So the difference between that is hard to say between a middle school because I didn't have the luxury of, well, I'm not sure if it's a luxury of having to have everything prepared and be ready for that game after game after game. It's just really tough to compare those two.
Pat, you've got the opportunity now. You're working in a coaching system with your son. That's got to be special.
Yeah, when Coach Ogle retired last year, of course, I got a call from my son, and I had a couple other calls as well on some other jobs closer to home. But I thought, I'm weighing this out. Which way do I go? I thought, well, my whole life I wanted to coach with my son, and here's the opportunity. So the extra drive, the extra time, it was worth it. Let's go that route. And
talk about what it's like to actually be out there working with your son in a game situation or in a practice situation. The mechanics of it, it's got to be incredible.
It's super fun. Sometimes it gets a little irritating. It's like me trying to teach him to make pizzas. And he doesn't quite make it the way I want it. And he gives me, and I give him that look, Nate, this is not the way it's, okay? Dad, when you come in here, you come to me when you got something to say. Don't bother anybody else. Come to me, and I'll take it to John or whoever. So when I suggest something to him, sometimes it's like that pizza. It's not what he wants to hear, and I get that look, and I know, whoops, I said the wrong thing, or
there you go.
This is not right, or he doesn't agree with me.
Coach, tell us who's playing big for you this season.
We've had numerous players play well for us. Some of the, obviously, John Everingham's boys, Miles and Maddox, has had a really great year, even though they were part of the group that got put off for. We actually only got to play 7 games with them. You got to think about who we played this year. We got to play 10 games, and we played against like Warsaw, Lakeview, who was 19-0. They got 19 games in. We had 10 total, counting the tournament. So we really got kind of cheated on that part of it. I would have been ecstatic to see us. I wanted to play another 10 games with these guys. They were fantastic. The Everinghams did a great job. They kept us in all the ball games where our leading scorers. You'd always expect anywhere from 15 to 30 points a game.
Wow.
From those two alone. Dallas Miller, our center, hit the boards well. He's the one that moved in, and he's kind of the missing link, I think, to this team. that put it all together. Weston Hoppert, our surprising player, he must have put in a lot of extra work over the summer, because his shooting was probably as stable and as good as anybody on the team. So that makes a big difference. Reed Reidenbach, when our starting 4 was out during that stretch of time for those 3 games we had without our starting 4, he came in and hit the boards and was very aggressive and did some things for me that never expected. He showed me he could be a really good ball player down the road. Another guy, Robbie Finlinson. Probably Robbie could be our best shooter on the whole team. I mean, if we had to pinpoint who my best shooter was, you could put 6 of them in the mix. Mm-hmm. Any one of those 6 could be my best shooter if you wanted to go that direction. Kane Dukes gave us some great minutes. Did a great job of shooting as well. And believe it or not, I created Coach Al Rhodes taught me this. He created a team called the Killer Bees. And this was a practice squad team that would go in and do all the dirty work that the other teams might present against his team.
Right. So
I created, because of the loss of games, my B team lost games. They got 1 B team game in that they won. So the other 2 or 3 we had scheduled lost all of them.
Yeah.
So I really felt more sorry for them than anybody else in our team because of all this. So I created a Killer B teams, and I'd say, Killer Bees, hit the floor. I want a full court press, hot. Give them everything you got, and they come out and just give all kinds of turmoil to our starters and stuff. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to be aggressive. I wanted to be tough and rough on them. And so I created the Killer Bees for this year.
There you go.
To give them some source of excitement. And those kids did real well. The Aiden Hunziger came in. I called him the Beast. He was in one of our games, and he went up for a rebound and just came down with authority like I've never seen anybody else do at that level. And I just, from then on, I says, you are my beast of a rebounder. So he really enjoyed that. And then we had Hunter Allen, who has the ability. Now he's got to get the mindset, and it's got to be in his heart that he wants to do it. And with a little off-season work, I could see him coming around doing a really good job. We had Cooper Garden, Isaac Winter, Sawyer Grimes, Dame Kripe. All of them did a great job as part of my Killer B team. So it was a pleasant year. Enjoyed every one of them. They all developed. I'm just sorry we didn't get to play the full schedule. But we'll pick it up with Club 1 here very soon and go at it again.
Well, along with being one of the premier youth coaches, I'd say all the way clear down as far as 3rd grade in Kosciuszko County, and having touched basketball, football, baseball, success in all of them, you're also Mr. Pizza King. I mean, you've got all the Pizza Kings around. You do all this stuff. You've had this tremendous success. I don't think through Pizza King or through coaching, I can't think of anybody with a dual track who has touched so many people through youth athletics in Kosciuszko County as you have. Wawasee system, Warsaw system, Valley system. You've been everywhere. You've touched a lot of lives, and people don't realize the level of impact you've made. You've been so quiet about it.
No.
I don't think there's anybody who's touched that many students, that many youth participants in that many sports with that much. And you do just a fantastic job. You're to be commended for it. What you've done over 50 years for youth athletics in Kosciuszko County, absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure hearing that. And if I had anything in any individual of being better of themselves for their career, then I'm thankful for getting a job. Even if it's just one child.
Coach Pat O'Connell, the Wawasee Warrior 8th grade program. When we come back, we'll talk to Coach Everingham about this week's matchups. This is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Talking once again to the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, tonight, take the big road trip up to LaGrange, take on the Lakers, and then Northridge next week. We go from teams that maybe don't score as many points. Now we're going into a couple of offensive factories.
I got to correct you real quick. You said tonight.
Oh,
yeah. I know.
We moved the game. We got, what you said. I heard you say we got 12 snowflakes coming, and so we probably don't want to get into that. But they're expecting some snow tonight, and I think a lot of teams, are moving their games to the afternoon. So we will play, today. I think 3:30 start, right?
3:30 for the JV, and then varsity to follow.
Yeah. So we got, we got an afternoon game. So it really is not that big of a deal. Again, we're kind of in the COVID era right now of our season and school and stuff like that. So. I was telling the coaches last night that, a lot of times you don't want to play afternoon games because it kills the crowd.
Right.
There's never anybody that attends.
But we're in the middle of this COVID stuff. You're not going to have a crowd anyway.
Right. So it doesn't matter what time you play. Lakeland played last night. They traveled to Garrett and played a game. And so when I was talking to their coach through text messages, it's like, I think it's fair that we just move it to the afternoon. Again, it's not going to hurt attendance, and it doesn't really give anybody advantage or disadvantage. It is what it is. The only thing that, we're the ones traveling up there, so we have to get around just a little quicker. We'll come in and shoot around today. We'll cut that just about 15, 20 minutes short. Make sure guys get breakfast and then have an opportunity to eat lunch, and then, get on a bus and travel up there. So I think it's the right thing to do to get that afternoon game in, so we don't have to worry about, traveling in the dark and the snow and all that stuff if we get a few more snowflakes than 12.
I often think of the Lakers as a smaller school, and I guess they are a little bit smaller than us, but not as much as they used to be. That's actually a school relatively close to our own size.
Yeah, and they're obviously in our sectional too.
Yeah.
So we play another sectional opponent, and we'll have to know them. We know them pretty well right now, but we did play last night, so our kids may not know them, like we want them to, but that happens on back-to-back, double weekends. But if we draw them, or if they're on our side of the bracket, our kids are going to know them very well. We know them well enough because we played them last year in the sectional, and where the game we won on Friday night to get to the sectional finals was against Bontrager, and the same guys. It was basically the same players, Pole and Kyle, Shepard, and Bontrager. Leading the way is Bontrager, who's their all-time leading scorer, and again, we last year's philosophy was just do your best. Like the guy's going to score, and he's going to get his 20, 15, whatever he gets. But it's really kind of a focus on making sure he doesn't go crazy, and then taking care of the other guys. And again, last night at Concord, it was kind of the same thing. Like Coltukian is going to get his. And I said anything under 14 for Coltukian means we're going to have a really good chance to win the game, which was true.
You were right there.
Yeah, and so I think it's the same thing with Bontrager. Anything under 20, and we'll have a good chance to win the game tonight. So if we take care of their other players, because their other players are better. Kyle is a player last year. There's a freshman that kind of came on, got some minutes, and now he's bigger, stronger. And I even had a coach tell me that he's shooting close to 50% from three-point range. And so, Shepard has hit probably 3 or 4 straight threes, I think, against us in the sectional semifinals last year. He's very capable. And then the Pole kid, I think, from the games that I watched this morning, I think he was probably their second leading scorer. So they got 4 guys that are very capable of playing fast. They will press us the whole game, and they don't retreat. If they retreat and they stop pressing us, that means we've done a really good job against the press, and we've been hurting them. So the goal for us would get them to get them off our backs and get them to stop pressing us. But in order to do that, you got to have great spacing, great passing, and you got to be able to score on the other end. So now then that gives them a decision to make. Are we going to do this the whole game? Are we going to press the whole game and play a game in the 60s, 70s, or maybe even the 80s and just keep pressing? Well, that's the decision that Coach Kyle will have to make, and he did that against Lakeland Christian. It was a overtime game, I think 82-79. I watched that this morning. I watched the whole game this morning, they just kept pressing, and gave Lakeland Christian scoring opportunities. But that's the type of game they wanted to play, and that's the type of game the coach chose, and they nearly got beat against Lakeland Christian.
Put more points in the hole than the other guy.
Yep.
It's a different way of viewing the game, but you can't say it's an illegitimate way of viewing the game. It's just a different way of coaching it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reduce possessions, and we've done that a little bit too, or you can increase possessions. The game always comes down to, if you really want to talk about, if you really want to get into the debate, it's the extremes, okay? And we know here at Wawasee the extremes because we've done both recently in recent memory. You got Coach Everingham that maybe reduces the possession from time to time against teams that we feel we don't match up well against, and we've done that, and we've been very competitive with very good teams and actually even beat some good teams doing that. Then you got Coach Mishler, right, with the Grinnell. You try to maximize possessions and three-point shots, and you go on the other end of the spectrum, which gives you the exact same philosophy. Believe it or not, it's the exact same philosophy where you feel like if you play that possession game and you play the statistics that if you shoot this many threes and this certain percentage and this many possessions, that sooner or later the other team's going to break, and so we've seen both here at Wawasee, like I said, in maybe the last 10 years or whatever, and there's not one better than the other. The only thing is you can't do both.
Right.
And if you try to do both, you end up in the middle and you get squashed like a grape. And so you really got to be firm on what your philosophy is and what your belief is, and just for conversation piece, Coach Mishler used to be a low possession guy, early in his career.
That's true.
And then he kind of developed into and studied the Grinnell style and do that. So,
well, I think it was also for him an outcropping of what the talent he had available at one point.
Absolutely. So you look at your program and you think, okay, what do we got coming? We got guards, we got big guys, all this stuff, and you try to, you're exactly right. And he made the most of what he had, and we're not able to, as high school coaches, go out and recruit, legally, and we certainly don't do that here. We definitely don't do that here. It's pretty obvious by the kids that we have, So, but we know who we have. We know who we are. We're in a great spot, right here, and we don't really lose kids to the big cities and kids transferring and all that stuff. So anyway, Coach Mishler and I both realize who we have and try to develop a program that's going to be a good fit for for the players that you have.
So tonight, Bontrager and Pohl and the rest of the cast from Lakeland, high intensity basketball up and down the floor, but then we go out of the frying pan and directly into the fire as we travel to Middlebury to take on the Northridge Raiders, who tell them about that scoring situation from last night, because that blew my mind, Michael.
So,
tell them about that.
They hit 23 three-pointers against Plymouth, which is 69 points in total just from three-pointers alone. And we were trying to figure out how close that was to the all-time Indiana record. And I actually found online, it said the all-time national record in high school is 25 made.
Really?
Yeah. And they hit 23. And so I'm not sure if that's an Indiana record or not. Or how viable my source is, but that just blew my mind. And again, it's not against like a Hamilton or like, no offense there, but like a team that's maybe not up to par, right? Exactly. Right. It was against Plymouth, who again is not having their best year, but again, it's no slush, and they're a noteworthy basketball program. So that's intimidating as well. They're having a good year. They're 10-4 on the year so far. They've lost to a couple of teams that we've played. Warsaw comes to mind in particular. So they're kind of up and down. They lost to Mishawaka as well. But they've always been a solid basketball program. We haven't beat them since 2010, so it's been a while too there. How do you motivate your guys for that kind of game?
No, I don't know. You want me to be honest? I'm not sure. How many threes did you say they made?
They hit 23 three-pointers.
23, gosh. I mean, I remember in a collegiate game, we set a school record, and I have written down here for you to ask me about Coach Kyle from the Lakeland.
Yeah.
But in college, we hit 17 threes in a game. We hit 17. I just remember it felt like we were throwing them behind our back and like kicking them in. I remember that game was so cool because a good buddy of mine caught a ball, and it was like his 17th. It was like our 17th three, and he was kind of chuckling it was so ridiculous to hit 17 threes in a collegiate basketball game because it's just unheard of, And
was Coach Kyle on that team then with you? Or?
He wasn't on that team, but I did play with him. But 17 threes is a lot in a college game. 23 is unimaginable.
Yeah,
honestly, you look at if we shoot well from three, it's like 5-12. So to quadruple that is just amazing. It'll be fun to watch that film and kind of see. But Carter Stolfus is an amazing. Talent, high school talent. You wonder how it's possible. Some of those good shooters, Sam Smith, how it's going to translate to college basketball if it does. But right now, they're enjoying what they have, and they're shooting the ball. They shoot it a lot, and they shoot it well, But yes, going back to Coach Kyle, he's a Tri-State grad. He was my teammate there, and you want to talk about a good three-point shooter. Coach Kyle, a very good three-point shooter. But let me tell you just a little something about him. You know who his high school basketball coach was? He played at East Noble. His coach was Marty Johnson. Mm-hmm. I've heard you guys mention Coach Sorrell a couple times.
Yeah, Coach Johnson. He could take the air out of the ball. Coach
Johnson was a ball control, flex-oriented guy who played for Coach Sorrell. He played for Coach Sorrell, and the same call. East Noble had the exact same call, 31 offense, whatever. Everything was exactly the same at East Noble it was at Goshen. And so we always had a weird connection with East Noble and Goshen players. But, Chad Lacrosse graduated from East Noble. Josh Treesh, who is now the East. Okay, let me go back. Chad Lacrosse is now the head coach at St. Francis, University of St. Francis men's team. Josh Treesh is the head coach at the Central Noble girls program, won a state championship. Chris Kyle is the head coach at Lakeland right now. Sean Hill is the head girls coach at Goshen, who just won an NLC championship. Myself, and I'm sure I'm forgetting about others that from other states that you guys wouldn't know, but we all come from the same little pocket there at Tri-State, and it's amazing. Chad Lacrosse, Josh Treesh, Chris Kyle, we're all from East Noble, and then myself and a couple of my teammates from Goshen. Witten played at Tri-State, and it was, I guess you could say ball control, and it was a very disciplined style of basketball at the college level. And so to see Woody come out and run this high-powered pressing, I'm going, hey. I text him. I'm like, what are you doing over there pressing and trapping and all this stuff? I'm like, Coach Johnson would be so disappointed in you.
It's good.
So anyway, but he's, I think he knew what he had. Look, they play 5 guards, So good for Coach Kyle that he's over there making adjustments. They still run the flex. They still run the flex in the half court, but they press the entire game, and they probably should, with 5 guards and quick, fast guards, and they can get it up and down the court. But it still doesn't mean, tonight I guarantee we're going to be laughing and reminiscing, and I look forward to that. But what I also look forward to is kicking his butt.
That's the mentality.
I think about the days of playing NBA Jam in the dorms and all the smack talking and all this stuff, and I watch him on film, and I just thinking, I want to beat him so bad, But it's not about me. I understand that. But you got an old buddy from college and a teammate. I'm not saying because we're the Warriors, but man, that dude was a warrior. If you do some background checking on Chris Kyle, quarterback on the football team, just an amazing competitor. So I would imagine that his team's going to take after him and be very scrappy and do their very best to destroy us. So
before we end, I just want to say thank you guys to both of you, because this is my last Coach's Corner show before I head down to college. Unfortunately, I won't be able to finish the season in the broadcast booth. So I just want to say a special thanks to Mr. Bill Dixon and Mr. John Everingham for sticking with me this season, and it's been a fun ride, and I'll definitely be cheering on the Warriors the rest of the year here.
Michael, it's been a pleasure working with you.
Awesome. Can I say, I'll add right there, how cool is it not only that you've come back and done some of the broadcasting stuff, but you're a graduate of, the Pathways program and Jeremy Van Loo's program. So welcome back, and thanks for doing what you're doing and filling in, and I'll look forward to hearing who we got next.
This has been Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com, WRWTLP, Syracuse.